Shalom to you, let giving all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh Shem El Shai, Bashem Kakodash, and give a double honor to the other apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone, who well, peace and salutation to the elect. Shem El Mappa and Jamapa from the Great Millstone Plain Tables camp located here in the city of Philadelphia. Abawa, I'm Lamadi Maikum, lesson or we lesson. This lesson is on the current news. Donald Trump puts tariffs on nearly all imported goods in bid to restore U.S. industry. Okay. All even against allies and such. European Union. Okay. United Kingdom. Of course, China. Yeah, so you have it. This is off New York Post. And with a front page, President Trump yesterday imposed 10% tariffs on all imported goods and much higher taxes on products from China, which is 34%, and EU 20%, and others in a massive bid to encourage American manufacturing to force foreign companies to move to the U.S. He boasted his Liberation Day would revitalize nation's economy. So he's, of course, trying to push towards American manufacturing, American built, born, and bred, produced. But most of these goods that we, of course, get are grown in other countries and grown relatively cheap. The labor cheap. And then, of course, America get it for cheap and then sell for a profit here, and the nations win. But now, as you see, Donald Trump, he's imposing these different tariffs, which when we go into what a tariff is, tariff definition. The definition of a tariff is a tax or duty to be paid on a particular class of imports or exports. In this case, it would be those things that are coming within this country. Okay. So that government would have to pay, right, a tariff, okay, on their goods that we're of course receiving. Okay. So you have it here. Let's just listen to this. And fair use warning, I don't own any of this footage. This is for educational purposes only. Trade war is the beginning of World War Fee.
Chronic trade deficits are no longer merely an economic problem. They're a national emergency that threatens our security and our very way of life.
The president imposing a 10% tariff on nearly all imports. Roughly 60 countries, including some of America's closest trading partners, will face even higher tariffs. A 34% tariff on all imports from China, a 25% tariff on products from South Korea, and a 20% tariff on goods from the European Union.
You know, you think of European Union, very friendly. They rip us off. It's so sad to
wow,
say.
So you hear it. Like, he's telling you that, hey, we getting ripped off, man. Okay, this dude got a big poster board of what he's doing. Okay. I would like to see if I could get that, clearer, but
It's so pathetic. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half.
Some of the
so, tariff charge to, is it the U.S.? I'm trying to see what that says. Okay, reciprocal tariffs. All right. So let me see something. So we have it here. Trump, this full list of countries hit with the reciprocal tariffs. Okay. And you have it on here that with this off of Newsweek, the European Union, the tariffs charged to U.S. is 39%. The U.S. discounted reciprocal tariff is going to be 20%. Okay, and they got it per country. All right, you got Vietnam hitting them 90%. They're gonna hit 46%. Pakistan, a lot of products is made over that. They charging 58% to America, 29%. U.S. is reciprocating. Okay, so that's the data. You could check it out. It's like you got countries even outside, like Ukraine, only 10%, 10 and 10. Okay, Jamaica. Let's see what Jamaica. A lot of Jamaican goods, your Grace products, only 10%, 10%, 10%. Okay. So we see what it is, why it matters. The tariffs, which he described as reciprocal, fulfill a key campaign pledge and are aimed at pressuring trade partners to lower their own barriers. The administration expects the new rates to remain in place until the U.S. narrows a $2.2 trillion trade imbalance recorded last year. But the extensive list of tariffs also threatens to upend the U.S. economy. All right. As many, but not all, economists say, they amount to taxes on American companies that will be passed down to consumers. Okay, because basically all of the companies that buy these different goods, they have to sell these goods, and the consumer would have to pay the price. Okay, and there's so many different imported products, and most products are just here in America, just they come from overseas, man. All the produce and such, and most of that produce is coming from other countries, man. Out South America, go into some more stuff though. But this dude just really he just went against the world, So look, Barbados. This is good to look at. Argentina, but mainly against China, the European Union, Vietnam, okay, Taiwan. All right, let's play some more.
We charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half.
Some of the costs expected to be absorbed by the buyer, meaning prices on clothing, cars, produce, and pharmaceuticals, among other things, are expected to go up.
Right, so more and more costs. So, hey, I know we've been trying to eat and trying to take care of ourselves as best as possible. And, well, hey, with the wages that we do receive, that's more money that's going to go out when we pay for these goods. We need various products just to be able to sustain ourselves. But, Trump, with this plan, it's only going to anger the nations, and the nation's only going to fight back, in different ways, okay? And this leads towards, obviously, war, or World War III, preferably, as we do know. Okay, so let me get maybe possibly some other videos too. Because this is only gonna put people in straits, okay? So I'm gonna get the book in the King James in the 1611. I'm gonna get. Well, actually, I'll bring this out. Do the scripture. This is Luke chapter 6:45. A good man out of the treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is evil. And Esau, Edom, that evil man, that madman, the wicked. All right, which starts with the bankers and on down. Okay, they are bringing forth evil out of their minds. Okay, they actually have brought and devised this mischief and such, because, as I've said it before, most of these items do not are not produced here in America. They make these items overseas for cheap and bring them, of course, over and sell them, obviously for profit. That's capitalism at its best, because if you had American companies have American labor and pay to produce these things, you would have to pay more money to the laborers for these different jobs and such. And most people are not going to go in the field and sweat all day just for a couple dollars an hour and such like that. That's hard work. But you do have Issachar over in his country, and even Issachar even over here, that will in these other countries, Canada, go to all these different other countries, they'll go out there and work it, work these fields and do different things. But a lot of that goes these companies paying a lot of that under the table, and not like with actual citizens and such. Right? But that's just gonna end up leading towards, like I say, a lot of people, they're gonna pay for this plan, this plot, man. So it just go back to it. It says, for of the abundance of the heart his mouth, for of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaketh. Yeah, right. Out of the mouth come many things, man. Imaginations you seeing of the wicked. So I'm gonna get this one real quick, Chief. This is in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 29 and 21. It says, the chief thing for life is water and bread and clothing and house to cover shame. Right? These are the chief things, but we're going to see how Esau is going, of course, make things tough. All right? Because these chief things, principal things that you need, is going to cost more. All right? Let's go back to this video.
So I'm going to bring in senior business correspondent Christine Romans now to break down what all this means for American consumers.
Yeah, this is exactly what the president has been promising, an aggressive stance against countries he feels are ripping off the United States. You're talking
the whole world.
About a 10% baseline tariff on all imports crossing U.S. borders, crossing ports coming into the United States. That's the baseline. That would start April 5th at 12:01 a.m. And then on top of that...
And it's currently April the 3rd right now. Okay, 2025. Hopeful year of the deliverance of the elect of the nation of Israel, and the destruction to Esau, Edom, and judgment to Esau.
Higher tariffs for about 60 countries that he calls the worst offenders. That would bring a tariff rate to 49% to Cambodia, 46% Vietnam. You can see it on your screen there. 20% for the European Union, and 10% that baseline tariff for the UK. The president calling these kind reciprocal tariffs because he says that he's just going to charge half of whatever their tariffs and non-tariff barriers are to the U.S. to try to send this message. He says that the United States has been ripped off. He's also declaring a state of emergency here, a national emergency, and saying that he wants to reindustrialize the United States after decades of bad trade deals that have hollowed out, he says, the American factory sector. One senior White House official telling reporters this afternoon, this is not a negotiation. For all those people who are saying, is this just the president negotiating with other countries? This senior official saying it's not a negotiation, it's a national emergency. This will be money coming into American coffers.
All right, the president about to sign.
This is a trade war, okay? So we see what it's all about right now. Okay. 1 second. We're gonna see something. just against the U.S.
There is
allies.
no way that Canada can win a trade war with the United States. What President Trump has said is that he wants to level the playing field. For decades, Canadian leadership has forced American farmers and American manufacturers to play by an unfair set of rules. All President Trump has said is that we're done playing by an unfair set of rules. If you're going to do something to our industries, then we're going to do something back to your industries.
Which just they're like their closest allies and such. Like, that's crazy, you know. So, you know, we're seeing a lot go down, man. Look, let's check this off Good Morning America.
The all-important groceries will be affected as well. Matt Gutman is at a grocery store in Los Angeles. And Matt, tell us what you're seeing there.
Hey, good morning, Michael. I mean, when it comes to groceries, economists project that if consumers are made to absorb the entirety of the 20% import tariffs on Europe, things like this.
Italian olive oil.
$20 now, it'll be up to $24. And
Dude, that man, you can't even buy oil these days. You go in a store to try to buy any of the things. Like, I'm looking at just the cheapest of the cheapest of oil is what? About $10, you know, $8. You know, and that's not even real oil most of the time. You know, the real stuff, like I said, and then even some of the stuff that you think is really top shelf real oil is not real oil. You know, but you know, these imports, hey, you're gonna have to pay. You know, they over there, look, this is an international aisle this dude is in. An international aisle that I see and on the other side, like, olives from, like, Israel look like, some are Arabic over there in Arabia in the east, you know?
That folks are really not going to like. Alcohol could also rise by that 20% as well, but not just
all that, them wine.
Imported alcohol from Europe, but also domestically produced alcohol because of the tariffs on aluminum.
Yeah, because also the people have, well, you say the aluminum. All right, the aluminum coming from the other country, right? Then then remember, the companies need that raw material to be able to produce the cans to put the, you know, the particular beverage, alcoholic beverage, together. Well, that's going to up the price.
And on glass, something else.
Glass.
Seafood. The USDA says about 80% of seafood consumption in the U.S. comes from high tariff countries. India, Indonesia, China, Canada, Vietnam. So that could rise. But there are a couple of...
Is all this going to rise? Ain't no could, it will rise. And it's going to keep rising.
Spots. Folks here at the Sabzi market say that meat, poultry, eggs, dairy, they're likely not going to change much. Also...
Yeah, right. Don't listen. Never trust our enemy.
So take a look at this produce display here, and despite the tariffs on Mexico and Canada, the folks here at markets like this don't expect produce to rise much more than a couple of percent. Another bright spot, inventory. Managers of stores like this say that their vendors say they have plenty of inventory that will likely last for months, and consumers won't start to feel the pinch for several months down the road.
That's what they're saying right now. Okay? And that's where, you know, that's inventories of what? Perishable. Non-perishable items, okay? And then what happens if any major event goes and occur, and then people want to, you know, because you got it that, you know, there's people are told to stockpile. I may put this in the news. Yeah, certain countries, it says, this is off of Fortune. This is a week ago. The European Union just issued a dire warning to its 450 million citizens. Stockpile supplies and prepare for a disaster. Okay? The European Union on Wednesday urged citizens across the continent to stockpile food, water, and other essentials to last at least 72 hours as war, cyber attack, climate change, and disease increases the chance of a crisis. So, you know, the people are not thinking about what's going on in the world. Okay, the world is pretty much at variance with one another. Okay, as you see, Donald Trump, he's going against the European Union. The European Union is part of what? NATO. Okay, Canada, part of NATO. Okay, and these, of course, United States is going against their own allies. All right, now we do know, war is on the horizon. So the scriptures do talk about how with the European Union, this is Revelation chapter 17, or which is known as the 10 horns, all right, in the scriptures, all right, and they're going to hate the whore being America, all right. This is the book of Revelation chapter 17 and 16. It says, in the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast being NATO, these shall hate the whore, being America, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Okay, war is on the horizon. Okay, these nations are not in league or in union, really. They're a house divided. Okay, a house divided. This is Matthew chapter 12 and 25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. Okay, this beast system will be brought down to desolation. Okay, with NATO, the EU, okay, its allies, it's over. All right, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Okay, you have even currently going on right now, you have it with Iran, all right, with the United States. United States sending vessels to that region. You got here, even right here, Gulf state refused to let U.S. bases airspace for Iran attack. Gulf states, right, that's over there in the Persian Gulf, over there in the Middle East, says Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states have imposed ban on U.S. warships using their airfields or skies to attack Iran. Okay, and isn't Saudi Arabia supposed to be a partner, with America, be it their, the oil? All right, Saudi Arabia and the UAE, or United Arab Emirates, Qatar and Kuwait have all told the U.S. they will not permit their airspaces or territories to be used as a launch pad against Iran, including for refueling and rescue operations. A senior U.S. official told the Middle East Eye the official spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive military planning. They do not want to be drawn in, the official said. Okay, the Gulf states intransigence is a setback for the Trump administration, which has hoped to use massive airstrikes on the Houthis in Yemen as a show of force to corral to Tehran to the negotiating table on a nuclear deal. If Iran realizes the U.S. oil-rich Arab allies are not on board with the strikes, it could harden their negotiation position. All right. So, what ended up happening? The U.S. turns to Diego Garza base. All right. The U.S. has been moving warplanes and cargo to Jordan, or Yarden, and Gulf states as at the highest level, right, since October the 7th of 2023. So that's what they've been doing. Okay. Hamas-led attacks on southern Israel morphed into a simmering region conflict, and as we do know with World War III, it tells you, you heard about Israel, the state of Israel come up. It tells you in Jeremiah chapter 49 and 20, therefore hear the counsel of the Lord Yahweh that had taken against Edom, all right, and his purposes, that's Esau, okay, so-called weight man, all right, America headed by Edomites, all right, the bankers, the elite, all right. It says that he had proposed against the inhabitants of Teman, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Okay. Hey, something happened with that state of Israel. Hey, it draws, of course, with that charter. Okay. With the NATO charter. Hey, once you strike one, all get involved and such. But this just all of these different events lead towards major conflicts. All right. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. All right. And the scriptures tell you also in Psalms, the 49th chapter. I think that's Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. It tells you, Habakkuk chapter 2 and 5, starting at verse 4 actually. It said, I started at 3. It says, for the vision is yet for appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it surely will come. Because it will surely come, it will not tarry. For the vision is yet for appointed time. I'm going to say it again. But at the end it shall speak and not lie. And it's speaking. It's life coming to these prophecies. All right, are happening. Though it tarry, though it wait, it seemed like it's going to take a bit. Nah, just wait for it, because it surely come. It's going to happen. World War III is going to happen. The C-hip has to be made mandatory first, though. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yet also, because he, which is Esau, transgressed by wine his philosophies. Okay, there's diplomacy. Okay, hey, we're trying to restore, everything. That's the main plan. U.S. industrialization by of course striking these partnerships with the different countries which they ally with to get these different goods. But this is only gonna harden them against E. All right. It says he is a proud man. You see how Trump goes about boasting, making America great again. All right. This is the greatest country on earth. The rest of the countries are shiteholes. Right. Neither keepeth at home who enlarges his desire as hell. You heard even Vance say that, hey, Canada, hey, look, they can't win a trade war with us. All right. It says, and is as deaf and cannot be satisfied. And this man can't be satisfied, because he wants it all. All right. But gathered unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Okay. And he, of course, has everything. Okay. And this dude neither keepeth at home. You see, this dude got bases in Yarden. All right. Though he would want to, put, as we was going back, he would like to use these different airfields in Saudi Arabia, the EU, Qatar, and Kuwait. You have it that the countries want to keep him out. All right. But you have it that it's handled. He says, Trump said on Monday that he plans to visit Saudi Arabia and potentially other Gulf states as early as May. So he going to try, to get that, of course, lifted so that they can put various military equipment, in that area, which the scriptures do talk about, that area. We talk about, the Lord talk about driving in the northern army, right, to a land desolate, barren and desolate and such. Okay. You read that in Joel 2:20. All right. The North American Army, the American military. All right. You have that there. One second. You had that battle, that valley in the valley of Yehoshaphat, the Lord's judgment. Okay. These things are gonna happen, but these trade wars, these lead to, world wars, banker wars, and such. Okay. Give me one moment, real quick. This is Joel chapter 2. 20, it says, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, and I will drive him into a land barren and desolate, the Middle East, with his face towards the East Sea, the East Sea being the river Euphrates, and his hinder part towards the utmost being the Red Sea. Okay. And his stink shall come up, and ill savor shall come, because he had done great things. All right. And there's great destruction coming to Esau, Edom, and these nations. All right. With this, this world war. Okay. So, that's pretty much going to be it for now. Hey, the nations are preparing for war, and, hey, we see evil just continuing to be on the horizon. Okay. So, that's going to be it for now. Shalom to the elect. All praise and honor go to Yahweh Shem HaShai B'Shem Kodesh.